the nature photography, the wildlife photography, yeah, and the event coverage photography. So we have a different kind of photography just related while capturing the movements itself. So coming to that, post processing is a thing which is very essential nowadays. So as the discovery of the digital cameras have become a part of our life these days, even the digital cameras are not having enough value for that, because the smartphones are overtaking the digital photography. So I see the smartphone photography is the future. So yeah, post processing is a thing which is a very limited thing we need to do in the photography. The major parts of the photography should be covering all the elements and aspects in a photo. I'll start introducing you to the Photoshop. So how do we do that? Like balancing an image to its proper light levels and color levels. Yeah, so I'll share a few of my stock photographs. So we'll have clear editing session on that. So there's a website called pixie.com. So I'll show it to you once. Give me a second. So you can see this. So you can share your photos here, and you can earn some money as well. So Pixie is an individual organization. It's the first Indian organization to hold all the stock photographs. So if a new product comes into if the new product gets launched or anything, you can, if you are having access to that, you can capture beautiful photographs of those, and you can share it here. So they'll pay you for what you have captured. Yeah, so you can do this. Like if you are really into the stock photography and all. So yeah, you can earn some bucks here. Just getting you this way. So yeah. So coming to this, we'll start with this one. Yeah. So in this photograph, we can see a lush full of greens everywhere, and because of the high ISO, the sky is getting lighter and whiter. So we need the proper color correction to be done in this photograph. So let's see how do we do that. So in Photoshop, each and everything is referred to as a layer. So in the right bottom corner, we can see the layers tab, which will have all the layers. For suppose if I draw a rectangle here, I'll select a rectangle tool. And if I draw a rectangle, this will be another layer. So a layer is a kind of a sheet or a paper. So yeah, we have two layers on the right side here. One is the layer 0 and the other one is the rectangle one. So rectangle one is on top of this layer. So if I make it into the background, so the rectangle is there, but it's behind this photograph. Yeah, so yeah, these are the basic things of the Photoshop. Actually, the layer is the very basic fundamental of a thing in Photoshop. So coming to this image, let's see how do we color correct it and level correct it. So there are two types of corrections in a photograph. One is the level correction and the other one is the color correction. So level correction is always referred to the proper highlights and shadows in a picture. Uh, in simple terms, we can say it as brightness and contrast. And the color correction refers to the proper saturation levels in a photograph. So let's get started. So we have a filter layer here in the Photoshop. I mean a filter menu in the Photoshop, where we'll be having camera raw filter. So even we can do the changes using the adjustments in the image menu. We'll have different uh, what do you say? Yeah, we'll have different options to select this and correct the image. But everything is available in camera raw filter, and it is more efficient actually. So let's see this. Yeah. So upon clicking that, we'll have an image something like this, and we can see that the ISO of the image is 100, and even the ISO is low. The Because of the aperture size, there is a lot of light coming in, so that is why we are missing the uh, colors of the sky. And it was taken in 1/320th of a second, so that is very less actually. So even though we had enough of lightning in the picture, so let's correct this. So we have the basic options here. So the first thing was the exposure or the brightness. So if we increase that, we'll have a lot of lighting in the picture. If we reduce it, we'll get less of the lighting. So if we reduce this, we can see a cloud here on the top of this. Uh, so we are missing some of the details if the lighting is too more. So let's see this. And this is a histogram which is visible above. Okay. So each part of this corresponds to a different feature in the image. So this should always be a proper, I mean, a probability distribution should be there here, where I mean the normal distribution curve, you know, right, which will have a single high and the lows on the left and the right side. So we need to adjust it accordingly. And coming to the contrast, the more we increase, the more darker the picture becomes, and the more uniform the all the separate splits of the image get spreaded. So let's adjust it. Okay. And coming to the highlights, the whites in the picture. So the more whiter we do, the mountains are getting hidden in this picture. So we need to reduce the highlights. And coming to the shadows, we'll if we increase the shadows, the parts where these trees are getting into the shadow zone, they are getting highlighted. If we see that on the left and right bottom corners, we can see the shadows are getting elevated. And again, coming to whites, we'll be reducing the whites as less as possible, and the blacks in a photograph. One second. Yeah. Yeah. So almost it is both level corrected and color corrected. So we'll increase blacks a little bit. Okay. And coming to the texture gives us more detail of photograph. So if we increase the texture, let me show it to you this way. I'll zoom it. Okay. Now if I increase the texture, each and every element gets pixelized actually. So if we see, if we reduce the texture, the pixel gets overlapped on the beside pixel actually. So if we give us a proper texture for that, then each and element, every element will be having its own unique property attached to it, so that the clarity of the picture gets enhanced. So coming to the clarity, even this does the same thing, but it adds more blacks to the photograph actually. So I'll zoom out and I'll show it to you. So the more clarity I've done that, the more sharper the picture becomes and the more darker the picture becomes. So I won't prefer much of the clarity. Clarity should be neutral or sometimes above neutral based on the photograph. And dehaze is the one which will reduce the noise here actually. So if we increase it, we'll reduce the pixel to pixel overlap on the image. So yeah, and it enhances the colors in the image as well. So we can see that there are blues on the background near the mountains. That is because of the dehaze. So we'll do one thing. We'll add some dehaze. We'll add a proper dehaze. We'll do one thing. We'll sorry. We'll reduce the contrast. So to reduce the blacks in the photograph, and the blacks, yeah, and to enhance these greens again, we have these extra options called vibrance and saturation. Always remember, vibrance should be greater than the saturation, and saturation should be always less than vibrance. So yeah. Okay, cool. Yep. And there will be other options also, like the vignette effect and all. So you can add those if you want to, but I won't prefer adding them. So even regarding the details, the more sharpen you can do it, you can reduce the noise in the photo, even the color noise. So it depends on your perspective on how you want to see the photograph after post processing. Okay. So once you're done with that, you can apply the changes. So this is the initial photograph. Upon applying our filters, the image has been enhanced. So yeah, and coming to this, you can do give me a second. Yeah, you can do the perspective correction also. So here we have in the edit menu, inside the transform, we'll have different types of corrections. So one is the perspective correction. So we can do something like this. So you can just expand one part of the photograph to make it visible as it has been taken from another perspective. So the photograph has been taken from the left side actually, but upon making the perspective changes, we can okay. Now we are showing that it has been taken from the left side perspective. Okay. Okay. So let it be like this. So we'll do one thing. We'll do the skew correction because everything seems to be taken from the top end, right? So we'll do a skew correction. So upon going to the transform, we'll have the skew where one second. Yeah, we'll distort the image a little bit by a degree or a two. Okay. So yeah, we can do something. I'll tell you. I'll take a copy of this. So I'll duplicate this layer. So upon clicking duplicate, we'll be having this pop-up. So I've created a duplicate layer of this. Now I'm gonna transform this image to look at in a different way. Okay, so I've made it turn to half. I'll select everything here. I'll delete this and then yeah, we have the right side image as this. So here there are two layers, so which I have overlapped on one another. So what we can do is I'll change this the other layer into black and white, so it can be different, right? So I'll go to the adjustments and I'll add black and white. Yep. So yeah, we can have something like this. You can play with this stuff and you can create some beautiful effects, beautiful photography thing. Yeah, this is one part of it. uh, and coming to the other one, even we'll do the same thing for this. We'll add the camera raw filter for it. Yeah, so before adding the camera raw filter, the sky was completely lit up with all the lights, but after adding it, it has some proper blues in the sky.
Bro, one doubt. Like,
Yeah.
hello, bro.
Yep.
Like, how to repeat that raw material filter to next photo? Like, we already done in last now. How to repeat in next photo
Yeah,
without
so
doing?
once if you add any filter in the filter menu, you will be having the last added filter on the top in the menu. So you can select that directly and it will add it to the new photograph.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't match every time with all the photographs. Uh, but for quicker demonstration, I've just added it. So let's do some correction here as well. So instead of editing manually, Photoshop already has an auto edit mode here. So here on the right side in the edit section, we have auto. So upon clicking that, it will properly split all the things. So it thinks it is correct. So it has automatically adjusted highlights, shadows, whites and blacks, even the exposure and contrast. But I don't feel these are the correct values. So sometimes the auto editing helps us, but not every time. So it's better to manually evaluate each photo and correct it. So I wanted to just reduce the exposure on the sky, not on the bottom part of the mountains and the greens. So upon reducing the exposure, I can see there are a proper detailing on the sky. So I wanted it to be like that in the sky. So camera raw filter just applies it to every part of the photograph, but we want it to apply only on the some part of the photograph. For that, we'll be using the quick selection tool, and we'll select the entire sky. Okay. So upon selecting the entire sky, we can see there are some mountains and the lands also getting selected. So I'll deselect those. Uh, so for selecting it, we have the plus button with the brush here. So if we select that and if we click here, the selection gets added, and if you want to remove it, we have the minus symbol with the brush here. So we'll subtract the selection, and you can increase the brush size also. Like currently it was 11, we can increase it a little bit also. Yeah. So we have selected finally the sky. So we'll be applying filters only to this. So I'll select filter, camera raw filter, and the camera raw filter applies only for this selection. So now I'll do auto. It has enhanced some part of the vibrance and the saturation levels along with highlights and shadows. So I'll increase the texture for this and clarity as well. Uh, yeah, texture is fine. Clarity, yeah, is fine. Dehaze proper, yeah, proper blues. So now I'll increase little exposure. I'll decrease the contrast, or else it gets more darker. Increase little highlights and reduce the, properly adjusting the shadows and even the whites, the blacks. And little vibrance and little less saturation. Yeah, so we can see that we have applied the camera raw filter only for the sky here. So for the other things, in order to adjust, we'll right click it and we'll select inverse option. So which will select the bottom layer now. Now we can edit the bottom layer. So I'll go to the filter and I'll select camera raw filter again. So yeah, I'll do auto first, which will adjust it accordingly. So I'll increase little exposure, even the contrast to a little bit where the greens are properly highlighted. reducing the highlights, not as less as possible. So the more white, the more brighter it becomes. The blacks, increase the texture, clarity, obviously dehaze. Okay, yeah. So I'll deselect that, but we can see there are some patches between these two layers. So in order to clear them out, we'll have a healing brush tool here, spot healing brush tool. So which will check this beside pixels, and it gets automatically corrected. Let's see how it works. So I'm just drawing it on the layer where they both are getting overlapped. So in order to get this proper thing, we need to select the parts very properly before doing anything. So a little increase the brush size. So I'll replace some parts here with the mountain greens. These parts seem to be very lighter actually. So we need to do multiple iterations on this in order to make it look natural. Or we can do one thing. Uh, we can select some part of the sky and we can replace it here. So I'll select this, I'll create a new layer from it. I'll select this and I'll replace it here. So in order to mix it up well, so I'll adjust it properly first. Now I'll merge these two layers. Now it has become a single layer. Now I'll take the healing brush tool. I'll erase these borders so it gets naturally within the image. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I guess it's almost embedded into the picture, little here and there. So if we sit properly and if we edit it, uh, we can edit. I mean, we can manipulate it very easily. So this is how we edit an image separately. So I mean, applying filters is different, and applying filters only to the specific area of the image is different. So now we can see there are the proper greens down and the proper blues in the skies. So yeah, we can do something like this. And the first photograph, yeah, showing black and whites and the color. And this one, yeah, almost not traceable, that we have done some manipulation on it. So yeah, coming to this, even here the sky wasn't blue enough, so I'll try to add the camera raw filter for the last one which we have used, but the blues weren't proper enough. So let me add auto. Yeah, now I can see some detailing in the sky. So I'll add DHS for it. So in order to get the proper blues in the sky, yeah, this looks fine, but the bottom image is getting much darker. So I'll reduce the contrast and I'll manipulate some exposure on it and add some texture and the clarity a bit, and little vibrance and little less saturation. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So this is the initial image which we have transformed into this type of image. So if we are missing some of the details in a photograph, we can manipulate it using a camera raw filter. So this looks completely different, like from how it is taken, right? So that is the power of post processing, but everything can't be fixed in post processing. Sometimes it's all about the perspective and the adjustments which we do before taking a photograph, the aperture size and the focal length, everything matters in a photograph. And yeah, nothing much in this, just highlighting all the greens. I think the previous camera raw filter suits this. Let's see. Yeah, proper greens and proper color correction done. And coming to this also, there aren't proper blues in the skies. So let's try the camera raw filter again. Yep, but the bottom parts are little darker here. We can adjust it by selecting only the bottom parts of the photograph, and we can manipulate it. So the same thing here as well. Same thing, same thing. Yeah. So coming to this photograph, so we have the proper greens and proper blacks here. I don't think much of the corrections or manipulation needs to be done. So this is how a photograph should be taken actually, by balancing everything. So if we see a camera raw filter for this, we can see the histogram is properly balanced here. Let's try to add some auto and let's see what it does. Yeah, it has enhanced some shadows and reduced the highlights, which is common actually. Yeah, no much of a difference. So this is after post processing, and this is before. This is after, this is before. So there are some parts internal to this where the detailing are missing. So that is why it has enhanced the shadows to get the proper detailing of each and everything. So yeah, but adding dehaze every time, mainly during the low light photography, it adds a lot of noise to the image. So try not adding dehaze for the low light photography and all while post processing. And yeah, even the same thing here. No much of a difference, just the shadows and little greens. Yeah, the same thing here. but we can see some part of the skies here, so it's better to make the sky visible here, so just by selecting it. So one of the easiest way just to select the sky was we can select it using the color. So I'll go into the selection select menu, and I'll select the color range, and we'll have a color picker here. So we'll just select this. So only the sky is getting highlighted here, correct? So I'll select OK. So only the sky got selected here. So now I can just easily add the dehaze and all. So I'll go to the camera raw filter. I'll add some dehaze for it. I'll add some clarity, vibrance, and of course saturation. Okay, the vibrance is too heavy. Yeah, as you can see, it shows the filter getting added to the bottom parts of this as well. But if we apply the camera raw filter, it just applies to the selection. And easy way you can uh, one second, where is my mouse? Okay, I'll selection. Yeah, I'll select inverse. Then I'll apply the camera raw filter again. So this is how it is. So initially I'll do auto to adjust it according to the sky. So I found it to be more exposed, uh, and there are shadows getting brighter where it doesn't match with the sky color. So even the highlights can be little increased. Yeah, this is proper. So I'll increase little bit of clarity and the texture in the photograph. Yeah. So this is how we show the proper colors and the lightning in a photograph. So the same thing here as well. But since there are the street lights which are obstructing the sky, we can't dehaze it properly. So let's see how it's gonna affect. There isn't much difference actually. Let's see. We'll do auto. It made it little brighter. Adding some texture, clarity. Upon dehazing, there aren't proper blues captured in the photograph, so it's fine not to add any dehaze. Just okay. Yeah. So these are some techniques which we frequently use while doing post processing of an image. I think this corrects most of it. So yeah, let's get into the poster making now. Let me close all of this. Yeah, so forgot to show this. Yeah, these are another pics which I've taken through my mobile. Let's see how we can correct it. So let's go click on auto. I see that the texture is a lot more here. Even the clarity, I'm gonna reduce it. Yeah, I feel this is fine. A little bit of vibrance and saturation, reducing little of saturation. Yeah, this is the previous pic and this is the enhanced pic. Previous one, and the enhanced one. So something like these will be requiring the post processing. So there will be some live moments where we'll be capturing something like covering an event in our college, or covering any event outside. So we won't be getting another chance to take a photograph of that particular moment or the particular incident. So in order to make the photograph correct, we'll be using the post processing more over there. Generally in the stock photography and the natural, I mean the nature photography, we won't be doing much of the post processing actually, unless and until we are bad at taking photographs. Yeah, so that's about it. So let's see the poster making now. So we'll take a portrait thing. So we'll just take a 1920 by 1080 pixel resolution, and we'll orient it to portrait rather than landscape, and I create a new document. So yeah, so can anyone give me an event or a thing for which I need to create a poster, so I can do it uh, now?
Okay, okay. I'll try.
Yeah. So can I get some suggestions, guys? Poster for KP. Okay. That's a suggestion for from Dheeraj Paisa. Okay, cool. So before that, so the basic parts of this poster was, I mean, the main thing in the poster was KEP, right? The knowledge exchange program. So it's all about the information sharing. So we'll get some stock vectors. So we can create our own vectors, but if we have enough art in us, we can create our own. So I'm bad at making art. So yeah, I'll Google it for you. So we'll okay, Google it, exchanging knowledge vector. So coming to the Google images, we have different types of these. So a poster should always be minimalistic and straight to the point. So it need not to be too much of fancy and stuff. So it should be straight to the point, and it should be minimalistic. So let's see which vectors suit us. So this one seems fine, but the background blue is dominating more. Uh, we can't have this. Uh, Even this seems fine, but it seems so small. And there are some money and the bulb, so it doesn't match with us. Uh, okay, let's see information sharing vectors. Okay. We have some Google Drive. One second. Hmm. Okay. I can see some of my stuff which I've done long back. Let me show it to you. Thanks, Srinivas, for sharing it. Yeah. So, one second. The Diwali stuff which we have done. So, this is a GIF poster where we'll be using this in our Instagrams mostly.
Oh, bro, where did you do this? Like in
Yeah, we'll do it in the
it,
Photoshop itself, but yeah, we'll do it in the Photoshop itself. But since it is a GIF, we'll be editing each and every frame. It's gonna take some time to explain GIF poster making. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Once again. Mm, give me a minute. Okay. So one second. Yeah, I'm gonna share some of my editing I've done during my college days as a con. So this is a collision event. So this was a perfectly captured photograph while dunking the basketball. So this is one of my editing. This is the wall where we have displayed all our photographs. Thanks to my juniors actually for making this. And yeah, I think these photographs were captured by Srinivas and Ramakrishna, I guess, as far as I remember. Hello. Okay. Yeah. So these are some of the photographs which we have edited. Yep. Okay. Sorry, not to get off the track. Let's get this poster making done. So coming to this posture on KEP, right? So okay, it's all about sharing the knowledge. So let's see which one suits us. Yeah, something like this would suit us. So I'll open this image, but there are robots and all here. Okay, we'll check something else. Uh, I think even this works fine for us. So I'll download a sample image and I'll open it with Photoshop. Okay, so you can see some vector stock and stuff here. So we just want the top, this thing. So I'll select this and okay, I'll open a new document and I'll paste it here. But yeah, okay. So I don't think the violets are matching with this. So I'll just change the colors here. So I'll go to the image adjustments and I'll go to hue or saturation. And then I'm gonna adjust the hue for it. Why not make it complete black and white? Let's check that. Okay, but I don't want to make it completely black and white. So we'll do one thing. We'll auto tone it, auto contrast it, and auto color it. Then let's see if any hue or saturation combination. Yeah, I think the darker blue, yeah, is adding the proper skin color to these guys instead of the violet. Even the brain, we are getting a proper skin color. So I'll select this. I'll drag it into our poster document. So I'll resize it. Yeah. And we see there is a lot of empty space actually. We'll see how to we deal that. So it's all about the placements in a poster making. So we'll center align it and then one second, I'll get the photographic club logo. Where do we have that? Okay, let me see in my drive. Okay, okay, one second. Yeah, it's been a while. I've seen this logo. By the way, I was the one who have created this logo for photography club. Uh, I'll close these unwanted tabs and add the logo. Resize it according to the size of the posture. So there are different kinds of alignment in the posture making. So if our background image is not big enough, we can replace the background with this blue color actually. So I'll take a color picker, I'll select this color, and I'll take the brush fill color tool, paint bucket tool, and I'll fill this background. Okay, why do I have two layers? Okay, it was layer 1, so I'll add it to layer 0. Now I'll invert the logo. I think this seems fine. I'll resize the logo again, and yeah, we'll add some text. Select the white. So it on editing. So we'll add different fonts. So by the way, in order to get different fonts, you can try a website called thefont.com, DAFONT. So yeah, this is the website. So you'll get a different types of fonts here. You can check anything you want, like the calligraphy. So let's say KP on editing, you'll get different fonts for it. You can select one out of it, and you can download the font, and you can use it in the editing. I mean, in the making of this. Okay, so coming to this, it seems so simple. So let's make it different. So AEP is fine. I'll reduce the size of this 14, which is too less actually. I'll increase a little bit, 16 or 18. Yeah, 18 seems fine. Let's make it post processing, and I'll increase the font size to a much bigger level. So I'll reduce the KP size as well to 22 or 23. And since this thing is dominating more, I'll bring it down to a little bit, and I'll add the post processing here. I'll reduce the size. It's very big actually. The word itself is big, so 28 is fine, I guess. Yeah. So we can do a different thing on post processing also. So I'll add just a P. I'll increase the size of the P very big, very big, like maybe 100. So now I'll take a different text layer. I'll decrease the size to 20s. maybe that is post processing. I think this seems fine, but the P is not aligned. So I'll rotate little bit. I'll adjust it accordingly. And even this thing, okay. So we'll do one thing. I'll take another text layer. I'll add processing here. I'll get this here. So something like this. Should do the work. And I see I can increase the P size even a little bit more to make it 120. Align it. Align it. Now even aligning this properly. Yeah, okay. So we'll do one thing. I'll merge this. Okay. So in order to merge the text layers, we need to rasterize it. I mean, we need to make it into a shape first, then merge layers so it becomes a single layer. So this is the logo. This seems fine. So I'll do one thing. I'll keep it on the top. And then moving the layer above. This much is fine. And processing. Aligning below the logo. If possible, reducing little size of it. Yeah. And uh, date, sorry, date and time and AM for 12th December 2020. Reduce size of it. And we'll do one thing. We'll make it column aligned on the left side. So making it visible at least 12 font size. And then placing it in the left bottom corner. Yeah. And adding some contact details. Something like Srinivas 810. Or you can add the venue over there, and you can add the contact details on the top, even that works fine. But generally contact should be on the left bottom, I mean right bottom corner or the left bottom corner. So let's see if we can do something about it. So I made it 12. So in order to differentiate these two, we'll add a line. So I'll select this, I'll select the line tool. Yeah, so it was of 2 pixel at least. Okay, where is the line? Okay. Line tool, I'll fill it with white. 2 pixel, 2 pixel. So let's see how it's gonna come. Yeah, no. Stroke should also be white in color. uh, let's see how it's gonna come. Select white. Okay, or directly we can take a rectangle, fill it with white and adjust it accordingly rather than to adjust. Zoom in a little bit, transform, reduce. Yeah, think we can still reduce the width of it. I'll select this, we have width here, so I'll reduce it to some 80%, not linked, 100% width to 85% maybe. Yeah, this seems fine. Aligning it properly. Yeah, that's about it. We can do reduce the size of it. And so at the end of the day, it matters how you see it. Central and the, I don't think this is necessary. Yeah, even this is fine. Yeah, that's it, guys. Do you have any questions for me?
Bro, how to merge the all test?
Sorry.
Can you repeat once how to merge the test layers?
So, okay, you can select one layer here and hold shift on the keyboard and select any other layers which you want to merge. So I want everything to be merged here, so I'll select this and I'll hold shift and I'll right click on these layers and I'll click on merge layers. Done. So everything is merged.
Okay, okay, same as other links. Like normally we merge.
Sorry.
You can use same for others also, no? Or for photos and
You can do save. I mean, same thing for others also. But coming to these, if you want to merge the text layers, you need to first rasterize them. So rasterize will just convert the text layer into the shape layer. So I'll do rasterize and I'll just merge these layers. So the bottom two are merged now. So yeah,
okay, fine.
yeah. Do you have any questions, guys? Okay, all right.
Okay,
I'll
so
type that.
poster is cool.
Oh,
Sorry, Dheeraj.
Poster is cool, but
Oh,
is
thank
will
you.
it become a problem for downloading it from vector stock?
Uh, unless and until if it is targeted to a bigger audience,
Okay, we can't use it for commercial purposes.
obviously.
And
Are there
bro,
any websites where we can get free stock photos? I mean, stock vectors.
I think free pick is one of the website where you can get some free stock vectors. Let me, yeah, show it to you. Yeah, this is the one, freepick.com. So free vectors and stock photos will be there along with the paid ones. You can search for whatever you want here. But if you like something and if you want it, if it is a paid, then you need to pay it. Most of the vectors you can find it in the Shutterstock or Freepik. Yeah, even the Shutterstock will have, but Shutterstock will have only the paid stock photos and vectors. You can get for free in freepik.com mostly.
Okay, got it, Sandeep. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I hope you found this session useful, and I hope you learned something from me. Thank you.
what this GIF making poster will take time.
Sorry.
GIF making poster. There's some posters like with the GIF.
Yeah, we can do that, but in the GIF, it's a series of frames, right? So
Yeah.
even a video is a series of photographs taken at a very short interval of time. So the same thing happens with the GIF photographer as well. So each and every thing which gets animated is a separate photograph or the frame inside the GIF. So we need to edit it layer by layer. I mean, frame by frame.
Okay. Okay.
It's gonna take a while to explain that. So skipping that for now.
Okay.
uh, you can find some useful there are a lot of content creators on the YouTube, so you can just YouTube it.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't take much time to learn.
Mhm.
Maybe a 10 or 15 minutes of your valuable time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any doubts? Anybody?
bro, in your opinion, Adobe Illustrator is better or Photoshop better for making posters?
For making postures, if you have an artistic hand, you can go for Illustrator. Like if you're good at making shapes and drawing things, you can go for Illustrator. Or if you want to use some already available vectors and stuff, you can go with the Photoshop anytime.
Okay.
Yeah. So even the editing or the post processing and the poster making is all about your visualization. So you need to visualize it first, like how well you can present the content in a single photograph or a single poster. So it should be eye-catchy thing when it comes to a poster. I mean, so if we see the poster which I have created now, so I'm highlighting more of the KEP and the post processing and even our photography club logo. So once if they catch those words within their eyes, so then they'll see the details like the date and time and the contact details, which aren't of much highlighted things necessary in a poster. So just making the poster look eye catchy. That's it.
Bro, sorry to ask you this during the poster making session.
Okay.
During the editing session, you told us about the histogram, right? Like
Yeah.
balancing the histogram. Would
Correct.
you mind, yeah, so would you mind telling us again about that?
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So let me take a photograph where I can show it to you. Okay. Let's take this photograph. So I'll go to the camera raw filter. So if we can see here, the histogram is not properly balanced. So all the levels of the histogram should be of the same height actually. I mean, the each levels of this or should be of a same height, so that the photograph will be properly lighten up, and the photograph will have the proper what do you say, the essence of it. So if we do some auto, it will try to scale it. But if we see there is an
Mhm.
exposure thing here lighting up in the middle. So we can reduce the exposure and we can make it expansion of this. So we need to split all of these levels of into the same height in order to get very good level correction and the color correction. So increasing the highlights will normalize everything, but we see some of the details missing in the photograph. So it depends on each individual dharma. So
Fine.
some people just edit it by checking the histogram, but we need to check both the photograph and the histogram at the same time. So we don't want the viewers where we'll be showing our photographs to miss the detailings in our photographs, right? If we see
Yeah.
at the top professional photographers, they give
Mhm.
more priority to the detailing stuff in any photograph. So at the end of the day, it depends on the detailing stuff more than the technical histogram terms and all. Yeah, so increasing the shadows a little bit, uh, increasing the whites
Mm.
will
All
do
right.
this, but it's gonna screw ruin up our entire photograph. So rather than that, I'll keep the detailing part. I'll increase the dehaze, uh, clarity a little bit, texture a little bit, exposure as well, a little bit of highlights. Try to use less of texture and clarity, because sometimes it seems to be artificial kind of thing.
Blown. Yeah, the image gets blown. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I have increased the vibrance, even managing the saturation. Yeah. Now we can see the histogram is almost normalized. Yeah. Okay, some photographers use tone curve to edit. What's the main purpose of tone curve? I have no knowledge about the tone curve, Dheeraj. Sorry for that. Even I'm learning all of these technicality terms recently. Uh, Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, guys, the whole session is being recording from the start. We'll be sharing the whole video if you have missed it in between. And bro, actually, in the last few months, our photographers, like editors, have made some mistakes in logo placement. Like, can you just elaborate so that they understand the logo placement and the sizing for the images?
Okay, so coming to the logo placement in a photograph, it should always be within the photograph, guys. So something like, so this photo, I want to add our photography club logo for this. So let's see how do we do that. So I see a lot of darks in this photograph, and the logo is black in color. So I'll invert this layer so it becomes white. And the best placements are only the corners of a photograph, guys. So either it can be in the top left or the right, or in the bottom left or the bottom right. So always check for the dark places where our logo makes us the viewers see as it is our work. So they can identify it as our photography club work or something like that. So it should be something like an eye-catchy stuff. So suppose if I am placing it on the left top corner, I can see there are some whites, and there is a lot of exposure here. So the logo is getting merged into the photograph. Even on the right side, it's getting merged. Even on the left side, because of the stones and all, it is getting merged into the photograph. So check for the proper darks in the photograph. So now we found this is the correct place. So what we'll do is we'll merge this, and we'll crop it only to this level. Okay, so the photograph becomes like this. Sometimes because of the logo placement, even we need to crop some parts of the photo. But in order to get the complete detailing of that, either we need to change our logo style, or we had to miss the details. Even posting it this way looks fine, but I feel it is an odd placement. Like it is not aligned properly to the right and the bottom corner. So I feel this is the perfect way to place a logo and publish it anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm, I hope that's about it. Any more questions, guys? Okay, fine, right. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, bro. I think you got your memories bring
Yeah,
back from
yeah,
the college by seeing
yeah.
the photos and all.
More than a year, I sat and did some editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
We miss you.